A 6-year-old girl reaches into a dusty window box expecting loose change. Instead, her fingers close around something cold and metallic. A doorknob, then another. Then a rolled-up piece of paper buried under years of dust. She pulls it out carefully and the room goes silent. It's a treasure map, and the address written on it? Her own home. What this little girl doesn't know is that her father started building this moment before she could even walk. This is the story of Peter Kay, his daughter Emerson, and a 7-year secret that would eventually be watched by millions. But what makes this story unforgettable isn't the treasure. It's what was written inside it. When it all started back in 2006, Peter was standing in his daughter's nursery, watching baby Emerson sleep in her crib. Most new dads think about college funds and first steps. Peter was thinking about hidden treasure. He noticed a small, unused space behind one of the bedroom walls, barely big enough for an adult to crouch in. Most people would have ignored it. Peter saw an opportunity. Over the next few weeks, while Emerson slept through the night, Peter quietly sealed off the space. He placed a small treasure chest inside, filled it with coins and jewelry, and closed the wall with removable paneling that blended perfectly with the rest of the room. Then he did the hardest part. He waited. For 7 years. No one knew. Not his wife, not his mother, not a single soul. Every time he walked past that wall, every time he watched Emerson play on the floor, inches away from a hidden treasure chest, he kept his mouth shut and smiled to himself. If you're a parent, you know how impossible it is to keep a surprise for 7 days, let alone 7 years. But Peter had a vision, and he wasn't going to rush it. By the time Emerson turned 6, Peter decided she was finally old enough. But he couldn't just hand her a treasure map out of nowhere. That would feel fake. He needed a trigger, something that would make the whole discovery feel like an accident. So he waited for the right moment, and one random Tuesday it arrived. Emerson walked up to her dad and asked for some pocket money. Most parents would just reach into their wallet. Peter's heart started racing. This was it. He told her she could earn the money by cleaning out an old window box in her bedroom, one that hadn't been opened in years. What Emerson didn't know was that months earlier, her father had stuffed that box with doorknobs, metal pieces, and one very important rolled-up map buried at the bottom. Emerson walked into her bedroom, and her father casually followed behind with a camera. Her mother and grandmother were already there, also filming. To Emerson, it probably looked like her family was just being weird. To Peter, this was the premiere of a movie he'd been directing for 7 years. She opened the window box and immediately complained about how dark it was inside. She reached in expecting coins. Instead, she pulled out a doorknob, then another doorknob, then metal circles and a pole. Her face shifted from confusion to curiosity. She kept digging, and then her fingers found the paper. She pulled out a dusty, rolled-up map and carefully unfolded it on the window box lid. Her grandmother leaned in, eyes wide. Her mother covered her mouth. Peter stood behind the camera, acting completely shocked, giving the performance of a lifetime. Emerson studied the map for about 3 seconds before she spotted it. X marks the spot, secret room, treasure map. And then she noticed the address, her own address, written right there on the map. The treasure was somewhere inside her house. Now, here's where it gets fun. Peter had to guide Emerson toward her own bedroom wall without making it obvious. And if you've ever tried to subtly direct a 6-year-old, you know that's like trying to herd a caffeinated puppy. Emerson grabbed the map, ran upstairs, and immediately went to the wrong room. She came back 30 seconds later, defeated. I can't find it. Peter knelt down beside her and pointed at the map. What about your bedroom? Let's take another look in there. They spread the map on Emerson's bed, and she studied every line and marking. Then she said something that nearly broke Peter's poker face. It's weird that there's been a hidden door in my room this whole time. She said it so casually, like hidden doors were just a normal thing that happens. Kids are incredible. Then she walked over to the wood paneling next to her dresser. She started tapping on the wall with her small fists. Tap, 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 solid, solid, solid. Then she moved a few inches to the right, tap. Hollow. Her eyes went huge. She tapped again. Hollow. She looked back at her dad with a grin that could light up a stadium. Here. It sounds hollow. Peter tapped the same spot, nodding slowly, pretending to be just as amazed. Inside, this man was probably doing cartwheels. Emerson's next suggestion was bold. We should cut into the wall, her mother's face said. Absolutely not. But Peter was already heading to the garage for a cutting tool. 7 years of planning, and he wasn't about to stop now because of some drywall. He came back with an electric saw. Emerson put on oversized headphones to protect her ears. looking like a tiny construction foreman supervising her first demolition project. Peter carefully cut a rectangle into the wall just big enough for a child to crawl through. When he finished, he stepped back. "Okay, Emerson, you can pull it now." She grabbed the cut section with both hands and pulled. It came away, and she peered into the darkness. Her shoulders dropped. "There's no treasure." Peter's stomach must have flipped, but he kept his composure. "Crawl inside. It's pretty cool that there's a secret room behind your wall. Just go look." Emerson squeezed through the hole reluctantly. "It's yucky in here," she called out, her voice echoing slightly in the small space. Then she went quiet. In the dim light, sitting on the dusty floor, was a small wooden treasure chest. The silence lasted about half a second before it was replaced by the loudest squeal her family had ever heard. "It's mine." She opened the chest with shaking hands. Inside were coins, jewelry, and one small piece with writing on it. Peter asked her to read it out loud. She held it up to the light coming through the hole in the wall. "I love you," she read it softly, almost to herself. Then she looked up at her dad through the opening in the wall, and for a moment, nobody said anything. Her grandmother wiped her eyes. Her mother's camera shook slightly. 7 years of silence. 7 years of patience. And it all came down to 3 words read by a 6-year-old girl sitting in a dusty secret room behind her bedroom wall. She also found what she thought was real money, but they turned out to be coin earrings. Peter told her they were pirate earrings, and that pirates must have turned the coins into jewelry. Emerson accepted this explanation without question. Because when you've just discovered a secret room in your own house, anything is possible. Peter uploaded the video to YouTube on July 11, 2013. It exploded. Over 9 million views. Thousands of comments from parents calling him the greatest dad on the internet. Some viewers admitted they cried. Others said they immediately started planning something similar for their own kids. Emerson grew up. She got into competitive swimming and became an age group champion by 11. Peter continued documenting their adventures together, proudly calling himself world's best dad, 10 years running. But the video remains. And every few months, it resurfaces on someone's feed, and a whole new wave of people discover it for the first time. Peter didn't spend a fortune. He didn't hire a production crew or build an elaborate set. He used a small space behind a wall, a homemade map, some doorknobs, and a tiny treasure chest. But he gave his daughter something most kids never get: the experience of being the hero of her own story, the feeling that magic is real and that it was hiding 3 feet from where she slept every night. The real treasure was never behind that wall. It was a father who loved his daughter enough to keep a secret for 7 years just to see her face light up for 5 minutes. That's the kind of thing a kid remembers forever. What's the best surprise anyone has ever planned for you? Or have you ever pulled off something like this for someone you love? Drop it in the comments. And if this story made you smile, share it with someone who needs to hear it today.